we're talking specifically about crochet, but there are so many lessons that you learn that are applicable to other areas of your life. And
Yeah.
that was a big one. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we are talking with Miss Dawna. I'm so excited to hear Donna's story today. Woohoo! Donna's amazing. Um, Introduce yourself, Donna. Let us know a little bit about who you are. Like, who is Donna?
This is the hardest part of the whole thing,
It is like, who are you? I don't
is that all
know.
the
Like,
attention is like, gosh,
we're all friends here. We're all
I know, I know. So my name's Donna, and it's actually spelled differently than my channel name. That was kind of a thing in one of the lives I went to yesterday. Uh, VJ was like, is it Donna or is it Donna? Are we going to split hairs here?
yeah.
So anyway, the story about that, I may as well just get it out. My This is probably 30 years ago or so, 40 years ago. I was having kind of a bad luck streak, and my mom and I went to go visit her cousin, and I guess she told him about my bad luck. I was having car trouble and I don't know what all.
Well,
And
when
he
it rains, it
said,
pours.
yeah, he said in his infinite wisdom, because at that time he was probably in his late 70s, 80s, he said, well, she needs to change her name. I'm like, where did this come from? Change my name? So I thought, well, I'm certainly not going to change my name, but I can certainly change the spelling of it. So I did. I changed the spelling of it, and the rest is history. So
Love
I was
it.
telling you this the other day. So now it's DAWNNA instead of DONNA, DAWNA. And now one of my older sisters calls me Delta. So it's like, oh, how funny is that? That he affected my life and my sister's life to that extent that now she calls me Delta for Delta Dawn. So it kind of stuck. So now I sometimes use it in different instances. I use that spelling, and that's the story. But anyway, put that back to the side. Um, who am I? I'm a crocheter, and I'm a bread baker, and I'm eighth of nine children. And what else can I say? Um,
That's a whole lot of love for one household.
it is, it is.
Whole
But
lot of
because
love.
my mom had so many kids, she had us in three sets of three. So she raised the first three, and then she had this gap, and then here come the next three. So by the time I came along in the last set of three, the first set of three was already married and having kids of their own.
Oh,
My
wow.
oldest sister is 20 years older than me. So she's old enough to be my mother. So the baby of the family, when she was born, she was already an aunt. So yeah,
Wow.
because the baby's 2 years younger than me. So yeah, there's a huge gap, which makes sense from oldest to youngest. She wasn't just spitting us out. So three sets of three. Um,
Wow.
and yeah, so I started my channel a long time ago. Well, not a long time ago. My crochet part of it, I started in probably late 2022. And it was just, I thought no one's going to watch, and no one did. No one really watched back then. I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. And
I think any of us do. Not really.
oh, come on. There's a lot of you that do. But it's a learning thing. You learn as
Right.
you go, as you
When
know.
did you when did you start crocheting?
Well, I was taught by a family friend. She was, oddly enough, she was a Catholic nun. And I had to look up today the order, because there's a lot of orders of nuns in the Catholic religion. There's like 8 or 10 orders,
Oh,
and
wow.
they all focus on a certain aspect of serving. So I asked one of my sisters just a little bit ago, what kind of nun was she? Her name was Sister Loyola. She was Hispanic, of Hispanic origin anyway. She didn't really look Mexican to me. And that's not their given name. When they pick a name, it's so I don't even know what her given name was. I'm sure I've heard it at some point in my life, but I don't remember it. So her name was Sister Loyola. My mom, well, all of us would call her Aunt La. And my mom would even call her La. I remember hearing her on the phone, La. We all knew mom was talking to Aunt La. So she would come to visit um, maybe once a year. She lived in different areas, but I remember her living in Cedar Rapids, Michigan. So she would come to visit, she'd come in on the bus and she'd visit for a while. And every time she'd come to visit, Marty, she would bring these little tiny, I don't know if you remember these from back in the day. It was a 4-pack of these little tiny bottles of Welch's grape juice.
Oh,
They
yes.
were they were like 6 ounces, teeny tiny. You remember them?
I do. I do.
I loved every time she'd come, she'd bring them.
Fun and
Yeah,
yum.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And my little sister and I, we
Sweet
just could
treat.
not wait for the grape juice. Could not wait.
Ah,
And I know I was at least 12 when she I don't know how if she introduced it to me. I guess she did. Um, and I must have expressed interest in learning. And she sat me down. I was at least 12, maybe 13. And she taught me how to chain. And I must have caught on pretty quick. And I think she had to have only taught me single crochet. And I started to make this blanket. And the blanket was with yarn. It was variegated yarn with pinks and blues. You know, it was really baby colors yarn. And I remember working on it and it was going like this. It was either going like this or like, I didn't know anything about,
growing.
I didn't know my edges were not straight at all. And I guess that discouraged me and I quit.
Aw.
I quit. And after I talked to you last week, I thought back, I thought, do I remember shopping with my mom for that yarn? I think I do. I think we went to either Woolworths or TG&Y for that yarn. So I vaguely remember that.
That's
So
awesome.
it was a very short stint of learning. And I don't know, once I hit maybe my 30s or my 40s, it was in the back of my mind. I thought, do I want to start to learn again? And I just kept putting it off. And then one day in 2022, you get those ads on Facebook, and I don't know why, because they're very predictive ads. I
Yes.
must have been thinking, and my thoughts went into the ether.
It's like they hear.
They know. Somehow they know. So I got these ads for Annie's Kit Clubs, and it was you would get enough yarn to make a square per month. So I thought, I'm just going to try it. You get a discount for your first box. So I tried it, and I picked it up surprisingly easy. And I remember when Aunt La taught me, she taught me to hold it like a pencil. So that's what I started doing. I thought, this doesn't feel comfortable. And then I started watching videos because the tutorials that came with the Kit Club were not helpful at all. I don't know if it was that particular teacher, but it wasn't helpful. So I had to start looking up YouTube tutorials on how to do these stitches. And the rest is history. I just took off from there, and everything I thought of, yarn and crochet. I got to make this. I got to make that. And it was just so much fun.
The bug bit you.
It did. It bit hard.
Yes.
So it, then I just started wanting yarn and accumulating yarn and looking for, and at that time I didn't know what kind of yarn I really wanted to work with. So I was just buying everything. And it was right after I started learning March of 22. And it was like 2 months later, the Hobby Lobby clearance. Everybody's talking about the Hobby Lobby clearance. So who goes? I go. And, I still
Yes,
don't know what,
please.
oh my gosh, I still don't know what kind of yarns I prefer. So anything that was pretty, I was putting in my car. I went probably 4 times that year, just accumulating yarn after yarn. And I didn't know. I didn't know. So, yeah, that was the beginning of my stash collection. Um, and then there's a like a salvage, not salvage, but it's kind of resale store not too far from me. And I went there and they had yarn. They had yarn and it was good price. And not only did they have yarn, Marty, they had Malabrigo yarn.
Don't understand. What is that? Never
It's
heard
high, it's high end yarn. It's high end. It's merino wool, super soft. I would grab one for you, but I don't want to get up.
it's fine.
But they have, and at that time I didn't know what Malabrigo was. So I have my phone, I'm looking up, what is this? And I see how much it is. I'm like, yes, please. It was soft and I loved it. Even though it was in a hank, I'm like, what do I do with this hank?
I'll figure it
Uh,
out later. I'm not letting it pass it up.
definitely, definitely. And it was a chunky weight. It was a chunky weight wool. Uh, almost like this,
Oh, wow.
almost like that.
Thick.
Actually, I still have it. It's up there somewhere. It was so soft. I thought, oh my God. And the first time I worked with it, it was like butter. So they had that, and then they had this brand also, Cloudborne.
Okay, that's another one I've never heard of.
And it's nice fiber, but it's kind of entry level as far as price.
Okay.
So they had that. They had the Cloudborne, they had the Malabrigo, and they had blanket yarn. So I'm just buying up all these yarns and accumulating and bringing it home. Where do I put it? So then I have to start accumulating storage. You know how that goes.
Yeah, I do. I do.
So, it's just been a constant thing of collecting this beautiful fiber. And I've discovered that I like the natural fibers and the thinner yarns. So
Really?
that's something that I've had to learn
Right.
over the last 2 years. And we evolve and we change as crafters.
That's true.
And one day I might decide I like worsted better. I don't know. But for now, I like the fingering and the sport weights and the wool
See,
and
I've
the silk.
never tried wool. I've never tried wool. But I will say after I made that top, mm, it was a pattern that I got from Saren's Crochet. I
Oh,
learned
I love
how to
her.
crochet online.
I
Yes.
love her.
Yes. So I did one of her tops and I did it in a fingering weight. It was a bamboo cotton and it's the only not acrylic that I've ever used. I've got number 4 worsted weight.
Hmm.
Falling on a budget. You get what you can get, don't throw a fit kind of thing. But I found that fingering weight for a really, really, really good price. And I realized that I love it, but I have to double it up because it's too small, it's too thin, and I have a hard time seeing and
Okay.
in the
Okay.
stitches, and it doesn't, I don't know. I probably need to practice more, and I will. But I love the feel of it. Oh my goodness. And I can't after that. And see, you learn, you grow, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You learn. And it's
Yep.
about exploration, right?
Right. Yeah. It
You
is.
look at your stash. Oh, I'd like to die for. What? Oh. But yeah, you learn what you feel comfortable with in every
Yeah.
project. Um, not every yarn is right for every project, and that's one of the things that I
True. That's very true.
Yes. So is there something that you have realized, like, and it could be more than one something, but just like what I mentioned as far as not every project is, not every yarn is right for every project kind of thing. Are there some things that you've learned um through your journey that would, possibly benefit somebody who, like me, is just getting started and doesn't really know a whole lot about different things? Like, do you have any advice for any new crocheters?
You're asking me that
I am.
after only 2 years, like I know a whole lot.
Will
Um,
we all learn different things.
the only thing that I know, and I mentioned this in my live last night, the only thing that I know I've heard, and I don't know this from personal experience, but when it comes to alpaca, alpaca tends to stretch. It doesn't have the memory that, say, a wool or other natural fiber does. It will stretch. So I've heard that if you use alpaca, either plan on it stretching or use it alongside a fiber such as wool that won't stretch
Oh,
so that it will keep its memory.
okay.
Alpaca is super soft. It's lovely. It's beautiful.
Have you worked
Um,
with it?
uh, I don't think I have yet. I have quite a bit of it, but I haven't yet because I don't have sweater quantities of most of this stuff.
Right.
So the alpaca I do have is a thicker weight than I would use for a shawl. And that's what I prefer to make is shawls. So I mean I could make a winter weight shawl, sure. I could. I hadn't really thought about it. Um, so that's probably what I would use it for instead of a garment because I don't have enough of it in
Okay.
the same color. In the same color.
Gotcha. I gotcha. Okay.
So other than that, the only other thing that I would say, and I have experienced this personally, that and this goes across all different yarns. Not every, like you said, not every yarn is good for every project concerning color. So I started this project, I can't remember what it was, with a variegated yarn, and it just didn't look right. It didn't look good. It was too busy. And Crystal talks about this on her channel. She doesn't like busy yarns. There's a place for busy yarns. It's not good for every project
Project. Okay.
because the stitches get lost.
That's
You
right.
don't see the stitches. So I
Oh,
can't remember what I was working up, but I thought this doesn't look good. And I frogged it. I think it was a shawl.
I love frogging.
You do?
Oh yeah. It's fun. It's fun. I'm a
Well,
perfectionist though.
the feeling of it is fun. It's the waste of time I don't like.
Oh, I don't know. It's almost like I I'm a perfectionist, so I don't like making mistakes. I'm not one that can just say, "Oh, it's all right. I'll make it up." I
Oh
missed a
gosh,
stitch. I'll make it up. I'll just put an
good
increase
for
over here.
you.
And I don't like that. I hate. I can't stand that. So I will uh, undo the whole thing. Like I
Oh,
will figure it out. But and so I don't view it so much as a waste of time, but as another opportunity to make it right. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Like, I don't know. I do. And it's kind of cathartic ripping something
it
out. Like,
is.
if all mistakes were that easy to redo, like
Right, right.
just rip it out, and then try it again. I wish life was like that, honestly. If only life was like crochet,
No
right?
doubt. I know.
Rip it out and redo it.
But wait until you try to frog with a fluffy yarn. You may not like it so
Yeah, I don't know about that. I know there are some. I do a lot of amigurumi. And if like something has already been stuffed, if that stuffing gets in the stitches as I'm
Oh
doing it,
yeah.
I can't. That's frustrating, and I just end up throwing the whole thing away. It's like I'm done because you can't. gets that stuffing gets in the yarn and you
Right.
can't frog it. It's just you're done. It's a
That's
knot.
true. That's
And I'm
true.
like,
Yeah,
super frustrating. Okay, we'll
that
try
would be.
this again.
That would be. I'd probably throw it out too.
Start over. Oh. Start all over. Okay, so let me ask you, Donna. Dawna. I love that. I love that. Uh, is there something that I know you haven't been crocheting for your whole life? I get that.
Yep.
Um, but is there something that you have learned in the last couple of years since you have been discovering all this beautiful yarn that you have, or crocheting, anything, any lessons or things that you have learned that you're able to apply to the rest of your life? Like, does that make sense? I don't really know if that makes sense.
I don't know. I understand what you're saying. Um, the only thing I can come up with is patience. But I've generally been a patient person. Um, I will I will convey this story. One day I was untangling yarn and it was a mess. It was a total mess. And I'm sitting on my bed and I'm trying to figure it out. And it occurs to me, this is very much like life. You you're untangling yarn and you pull and it doesn't want to pull out. It resists you. But if you move this piece of yarn this certain way, it will release it. I'm
Gently.
getting chills just telling you about it.
Wow.
I mean, think about it.
That's so
If this thing related to yarn, if this piece of yarn, if this strand gets in the way of this one, it's not going to pull. But if it moves out of the way, it's easy. So everything in life is, and I remember putting it on Facebook. I don't remember how profoundly I said it, but it made a lot of sense.
that's deep, Donna.
Yeah. You
That's
have
deep.
obstacles in life, and if they're just the right obstacle and you try to pull against that obstacle, it's not going to give.
No, it's
You
not.
move these other things out of the way, it makes it
Wow. Wow, that's deep. And yeah, wow. Ooh,
easy.
I love that.
I'm sure other people have thought that. But yeah, that occurred to me that day.
Wow.
And I still think about it. If ever I'm dealing with yarn barf, I still think about that.
I think now every time, because I know there are, when you said it's like life, I was thinking, yeah, sometimes life does get tangled up and it gets to where it's like
Mhm.
sometimes it feels overwhelming.
Yeah,
But you're right. If
like
you
a big,
stop trying to make it happen
right,
and
exactly.
just kind of take your time, and it goes back
Yes,
to the patience that you were talking about.
yes,
Take your time and sort it out and find the
exactly.
obstacles that are preventing
Right,
you from
exactly.
doing what you want to do. Oh my gosh, Donna, I don't know about anybody else. If you found that to be something that you needed, please comment below. I know I did. This must have been meant to be because I needed to hear that.
I bet you did.
Ooh, I'm not getting emotional. I'm not. I promise I'm not. I needed to hear that. So
It's
thank
okay.
you so much because yes, that is so true. Oh, that was deep.
Glad I could help.
Oh, wow. That's good.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
beauty of growing older, Marty. You gain this wisdom. And I get these profound thoughts quite a bit.
And I think that's one of the reasons that I like to ask that question because, oh, sorry. Wow, that was not, and wow. Anyway, the reason that I like that is because I have found, um, oh, was that your puppy?
Yeah,
Ah, I have found that there are so many lessons that you learn. Like, for instance, we're talking specifically about crochet, but there are so many lessons that you learn that are applicable to other areas of your life. And
yeah,
that was a big one. That was a big one. You can learn from so many different aspects of your life that kind of
yeah,
transfer. And that is one of the reasons that I love doing these interviews. Um, because although you haven't been crocheting for your whole life, like you said, it's only been 2 years, only, but that was deep, Donna. That was deep. That was a hell of a lesson. Not to mention the fact that I think you've only been crocheting only a couple more months than I have, I think,
yeah.
but you have so much more extensive knowledge about the different types of yarn and what they're good for and the sizes and what seems more right to different projects or the colors or different things. Like you've learned
Because
so
I've
many.
immersed myself in it.
You have.
I really have. Because I've had the
Yes.
luxury of the time to do it. I lost my job in 2019. At the time I started, I was involved in a really not so great relationship um, with somebody. We started out as partners and we ended up as less than roommates, really. So I really needed something, like a lot of people say, it's for your sanity. I needed
That's right.
something to focus on so that I wasn't focusing on this negative part of my life. It was so negative. And that's why I had to move last November. But if I didn't have that, Marty, if I didn't start crochet, I knew I had to do something. I had my sourdough bread. That was great, but it was starting to become kind of overwhelming. Um, and I was kind of losing the passion for the sourdough. Even though I still love doing it, I was not as enthused about it as I once was. So I knew I had to do something. And I think that's when crochet came into my life. And I was just laser focused, laser focused, just like I was on sourdough. When I started sourdough in 2019, 18, I mean, I lived, eat, breathed sourdough bread. I wanted to learn everything about it, everything. So I'm the same way with crochet and yarn. I just want to learn everything.
So I
I
got a
may not
question.
do it all, but I want to learn it all.
I know that's right. Yes. So I'm going to give you this is going to be a little bit fun. So 3 words, and I want you to shout out the first one that comes to your head, right? Which one do you gravitate towards? Don't look at me in that tone of voice. Process. Just process. Okay, so skein, hank, or ball?
Hank,
Really? Why?
it it makes my soul happy. I don't
Really?
I don't care if it's even acrylic in a hank. If it's a hank, I'm going for it. I don't know why. Probably because at that salvage store, that's what I was buying there. And once I learned how great they were,
What
I
makes
don't
them so
know.
great?
It just makes
I've
me
never
happy.
even seen one in person. So,
I don't Probably because it means quality. If
oh,
it's hanked up, it's a quality piece of yarn.
oh, did
That's
not know
usually
that
what
either.
that means.
Oh, okay. So,
And it,
is there more in a hank? Does that make
usually not.
sense?
Usually not.
Okay, so it's about the same-ish.
Well, no, it depends. It depends on the weight of the yarn. It depends because you can get like this. This is wool and silk. It's in a donut.
You said it's what? Silk?
Wool and silk.
Wool and silk.
Yeah, wool and silk. And it's very fine. Very, very fine.
Wow,
Um, but because it's fine, there's more yardage in it. So
That's
it
true.
depends on the weight.
Okay.
So if I took this same weight, I think it's a standard process. I think that if it's a certain weight, whether it comes in a ball or a hank, it has to be the same yardage. So
Okay.
there's probably 400 and some odd yards in this ball.
Wow.
If this was in a hank, it would be the same yardage,
Okay.
roughly.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, next one.
Trying to think if I have any more questions. I think we've pretty much hit everything that I wanted to hit. Trying to think. And I even asked questions I didn't realize that I had. Uh,
How about what have I gained from being part of this community? I've heard you ask that before.
yes. Okay. I would love to hear
Friendships,
that.
friendships. I'm meeting all kinds of people. They may not be here. Actually, I've met two that live near me. And yeah, friendships. Love it.
I agree. I have to second that motion. Yes, I've met some amazing people,
Yeah.
you being one of them.
Thank you. I
Yes, ma'am.
Same back to you, Marty.
Yeah, this has been really fun. This whole
Yeah,
thing has been really fun.
it has. I
Yes.
love, love, love it.
I wish I could have caught your live last night, but that's all right. I'm keeping an eye out for you.
You can watch the replay if
I'm
you
going
want to.
to.
If you have 3 hours to spare.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes I think that's what I like about lives because you just go until,
Yeah, and
right?
we did. Yeah, we did.
Sometimes like it takes just a few minutes and other times it
Yeah,
doesn't.
and people showed up, Marty. People showed up that I didn't expect. I mean, I didn't really because I started it around what 9 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock, something like that. I really didn't expect anybody, but I think we got up to 12 people maybe, and
That's
there were
awesome.
people coming in there that I watch that I didn't expect,
Oh
and I'm
wow.
like, oh my gosh, I'm so honored that so and so is here. And
Yes.
Joseph showed up at the end. Do you know who Joseph is?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, I'll have to share his channel with you. But
Yes,
he showed
please.
up. He's brand new. He's brand new to crochet. He's brand new to YouTube. He's only been doing it for 7 weeks, and he's already made a garment. He's made a bag. He's made, oh my gosh, he's made so much. He's a prodigy. He's amazing.
Wow, wow,
He's
wow.
amazing.
So he's
So
only had his channel for 7 weeks, or he's only been crocheting for
we've
seven
been
weeks?
crocheting for 7 weeks.
Yes,
Yeah.
please let me know what his channel is because I
Jay,
would
Jay
love
took,
to interview him.
oh, he's awesome.
Love, love,
Yeah,
love.
you should.
All right, Donna, thank you so much for joining us today. I am unbelievably grateful, so very grateful that you were willing to take your time and share your story with us today because I know me, for one, I got a lot out of this today. You have really touched my heart today.
Good.
I needed to hear what you had to say, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that needed to hear what you had to say today. So thank you so much for joining me.
Welcome.
All right, y'all. Um, if you would like to share your story as well, don't forget, I'm going to link in the description below where you can let me know.